Welcome back to the semi-finals here in Stuttgart for the final regional in Europe for the year. We are going to be looking at the top four now. We just saw a little clip of the other semi-final starting off, Magnus versus Matthias, and they will be doing that Palkia-ish mirror, Palkia with Vikavolt versus Palkia with Articuno, one with the Inteleon package, one with a slightly different package, but still, there's going to be a Palkia in the final.
You are loving that, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
And then for this other top four game, we have Yari. It's actually his first ever regional. What a storyline. Coming in on his first ever regional, coming in and finding himself in the top four. 1 win away from being in the finals, 2 wins away from that epic amount of prize money. And he is versus Brent Kuzmans. And it's going to be a Mew mirror of sorts. One Fusion Mew. Yeah. Versus one for DTE Mew. And
which one do you prefer by chance?
Well, I think you can see which one I prefer. I got the old Fusion there, but I will be honest here, Mike. I have to say, I think is it a Fusion? Is it a Fusion mirror?
I think they have slightly different lists. I think the list we've found. We'll get this checked for you, but I think Yari has a slightly interesting list with the double turbo energy, right?
Yeah, I believe that's the case, and there's some spice in there, a little bit of Heroes Medal as well. And then Brent with the Fusion, I think fairly standard. We do see the catches, though, calling back to a little bit of the Lost Origin type and even Astral Radiance kind of a list there, with a couple outs to Path to the Peak via Lost Vacuum and Lost City and the Tab Forest Seal Stone. So, yeah, both players getting ready. List bearers, we double-check these lists just to make sure we've got the correct ones, but they are getting ready. Oh, hold on, we can probably see Brent is playing Fusion, so that's correct. And let's see what Yari's prizes are. That might give us a little bit of hints.
Yeah, I think we do have it in there. There's a bit of spice in there as well. We actually had an interview earlier on talking about Mew VMAX with another Mew VMAX player. I can't remember exactly who it was, but they spoke about testing the Heroes Medal.
Ooh,
and we do actually see that here in Yari's list. What does the Hero Medals do?
Right, Hero Medals are really interesting card. It's really good to help skew prize rate. Mostly useful against Lugia. What it is a tool card that's when it is attached to a VMAX Pokemon, it reduces that Pokemon's HP by 100. Ooh, 3 cross switches prize there for you. That's very interesting. So it reduces the HP by 100, but then when that Pokemon gets knocked out, it actually gives up 1 less prize card. So you can put it on a Mew VMAX. It gives up 2 prize cards now instead of 3, meaning you can try and force your opponent to go through 3 Mew VMAXs in an ideal world.
So we've mentioned about this matchup here. We are kicking off with game 1 of the semi-final as they reveal their starting Pokemon. We see their Oricorio, Meloetta, the 2 single prize options in both these decks, and they will be looking to get those Battle VIP passes off early on, get as many Genesects down, get loads of Mew about. But as we mentioned, there is a slight difference in these 2 lists here. We've got a double Turbo Energy list, which has the Disruption with Path to the Peak and Lost Vacuum, which you believe is a slightly favoured approach to this matchup.
Yeah, there are sort of positives and negatives to each one. For 4 DTE Union, they play the Path to the Peaks. Obviously really strong at shutting off Genesects. And, Brent does have outs to that via 1 copy of Lost Vacuum, 2 copies of Lost City, and then 2 copies of Forest Seal Stone. But, it's just a bit of an uphill struggle. Sometimes you can just grind these Mew decks down to a halt, stop them drawing cards. But then for Brent, when you play the Fusion Energy, you do get to play Meloetta, a strong one prize Pokemon that can swing for, real high damage, taking 2 prize cards, maybe even 3. And that Jori has to respect that threat as well.
There's also that going second approach that is slightly more favourable. So if you do have to go second for Fusion, you do have the ability to get an early knockout. But some of you might have spotted that Grass Energy in the deck with writing on it. That is a judge-allocated proxy for Brent. We did actually get to see that on stream yesterday, and we were a bit confused at the time. But something was wrong with the Forest Seal Stone in the list, and so a judge-allocated proxy has been granted. So if you do see that, do not be alarmed. It is not a Grass Energy. But we do see an early turn. Meloetta's down. The game plan using those Meloettas, very effective at taking big knockouts without revealing too many prize cards on the board.
Yeah, and I've actually got a little interesting backstory to that Forest Sealstone proxy, because while I was in the sort of lunch cafeteria for the staff, I actually managed to catch up with some judges. I was like, what was the deal with this? Does anyone know sort of why this was issued? And apparently the Forest Sealstone, the print quality, sometimes the holo makes them warp a little bit too much.
Oh, really?
And Brent's was a little bit warped too much. He couldn't get access to another one, so a judge said, it's okay. This is perfectly fine in the rules. Let's issue this proxy, and then when it comes into play, you can show your opponent what it's meant to be, and then you can continue. So that is what it's for. You learn something new every day.
Yeah, and it's all about fair play here. We've seen all through the weekend, judges coming in clutch and making sure everyone has access to the rules, and whenever they need them, they can always ask for judges for advice, and then when those rules need to be implemented, the judges are there to do it. I love sitting in the area where the judges are eating and listening to them converse about the rules, because they know a lot more than most of us. And speaking of judges, neither of these Mew players playing the judge card, which we did see in some of the Mew lists throughout the weekend.
Yeah, my good friend Dimitri Eaton got himself a top 64 placement with Judge Mew, and I believe in Toronto, Tricky Jim is doing really well. I think last time I checked on an 8-1-1 record with Judge's Mew. But one interesting thing from Yari here, with that Ultra Ball getting rid of a Lost City, that's fine. But that cross switcher in the disco part, what that means is Yari has no access to cross switcher until he takes prize cards now, because there's 3 in the prize cards, 1 was in the hand, now that's gone. Yari does play 2 copies of, 1 copy of Serena and 1 copy of Boss, so there is some Gust available, but only at 2 copies.
And yeah, the switch outs, you've got the free retreat on Mew, so switch outs aren't as vital, but when you're chaining Techno Blasts, it can be quite useful to have a cross switcher style attack. And then there is 1 switch cart to be able to retreat into a basic Pokemon and then switch cart it back if that's the case. But at this stage, the Oricorio down, the Meloetta's down, and it is much more favoured to go first in this matchup. But the Fusion Energy Mew VMAX does have the ability to get ahead early if it goes second with a bit of a high roll.
Yeah, it's an interesting setup here from Brent, is that when he's gone for the double Meloetta. This is normally a strategy you see when you're in the Mew Fusion mirror, because then, if you try and play around your opponent's Meloetta with Escape Rope, you've got a 1 prize option. I wonder what Brent might be trying to build towards here is a double Meloetta strategy where you at least sparkle to both the Meloettas, and in that case then with some power tablets you can actually start taking 2 prize KOs with only 2 fusion energy on stuff like Genesect. A really good way to sort of uptrade and make use of Meloetta. Now that strategy can be a little bit risky. It means that you can't have as many Genesects in play. But if it works out, we actually saw Jamie do that in the last couple of rounds, well, going for that double Meloetta strategy into the Lugia. So we see a Marnie getting fired off from Yari, and it seems to work quite well for him now. He's got a Mew V down and 2 Genesects.
Anyone tuning in right now and thinking, what's happening here in Stuttgart? Well, no Lugia V-Stars made it into the top 4.
Yeah.
I think there was 2 Lugia V-Stars in the top 8, both of them losing in the quarterfinal, and we now see a guarantee of a Mew VMAX in the final. Has been one of the strongest decks here at the event. It's made up about 25% of the day 2 decks, where it's more about 38 was it for Lugia.
Yeah,
so,
about 38.
So the second most popular deck here. No Lost Box really making it all the way, but lots of them making it into the top 16, top 32 area. And Lugia V-Star with that target on its back has missed out this event on winning and even making it into that semi-final.
And who would have thought it? Mew VMAX, just always hanging around in the format, never really giving up. Anytime you can draw, 10, 15 cards a turn, never really out of it. A deck that's able to take prizes really fast, hit really hard with power tablets, always a fun time. But it just, looking at this screen reminds me of like back in the EUIC days where we were just testing the Mew mirror game after game after game, trying to work out lines and interesting stuff. But I would like to see a path here from Yori. Does he draw into it? He does play 3 copies. Oh, is that one there actually behind the switch card? No, that's a Lost Vacuum. So
does have the Cramomatic to potentially try and get it. Just for working out a target for that. There is 3 Lost Vacuums in the deck, trying to allow for a Lost Vacuum of your own path, so you can start drawing and replace it yourself. It's also most often an insta-playable card, because there is normally a stadium or some kind of tool in play to be able to get it out of your hand, which is great for that Genesect. And it does get the heads.
And that's interesting there, because Brent did choose to put Lost City into play, meaning that's 1 less path to the peak out. I haven't actually got a chance to peek at his hand, but as it stands, he's opted to go for the D. You don't actually have to show what you what you take off a Cramomatic, but fair play. Just just saying, that is what I took. This is interesting, because Brent could opt to try and boss KO that Mew, remove a DTE from play. Could be quite strong. No path to the peak, so Brent will be able to draw cards, but as it stands now, only got 1 Genesect in play, so...
Okay, so switch cart going into the Mew. That means guaranteed retreat next turn. And interesting, the ability to draw a bit more. Does want to draw into that path, like you said. Another Cramomatic there, so that could be a potential opportunity to do so. Easy target with the Battle VIP pass.
He did draw the path.
Maybe that was in hand hiding at the back and we never actually saw it, because it feels like that would have been the more optimal option to get off of the Cramomatic.
Oh, here we go, the Cramomatic Wars. Oh, that might seal it. That might seal it. Has Brent got a path to the peak out? I'm guessing at the speed at which he's playing his hand, it might not. Does he have a V max? Now, to be fair, if he has a DTE and a switch out, he might just be able to. Okay, and a fusion. Oh, and there we see the path to the peak. Does Yari actually have a path out himself, though? Because he did get rid of a lost vacuum. Is that another crap? The Chromatic's flying around left, right, and centre. That's a 1. Chromatic's not in a good mood right now. Now, has Yari got a response?
Interestingly, there was a Heroes medal that could have been used for the Chromatic earlier to keep that lost vacuum available, but it has been removed into the lost zone, the lost vacuum.
That's a Genesect V.
In the discard pile.
That's a Genesect V. Was it Judge issued proxy as well there? In case you're wondering, that is not just a basic energy flying around.
It's a different player with the Forest Seal stone as the proxy. So energy cards, the obvious use for proxies, as they're very expendable and easy to write on. Yeah, so that is a Genesect V there you see on the bench. Stuttgart proxy, it says on it, and signed by the judge, I believe.
Yes.
So just so you all know what a proxy looks like, very different to the kind of proxies you might have seen where people are very good at copying the card with a printer, but here just making sure there's no confusion.
Yari did not get into a path out. He's shaking his head. Well, this is the nature of the beast when you play a path to the peak Mew deck. It's sort of a little bit of a double-edged sword. You might lock up your opponent, but you might also lock up yourself. Here we see a Forest Seal stone. So it looks like Brent, ironically, is the first one to potentially get out of this path lock, and I wonder what he will choose to do here. You know, there's a few options. If he has a fusion energy in hand, we could maybe see an Elisa, a stadium replacement first, and then try and build towards an Elisa, try and take a KO with this Meloetta. That would be nice. Might even see like a switch plus boss to take out that choice belt plus DTE Mew sitting there on the bench. Few options. Only has 2 Genesects available to him. Now that's the sort of downside of trying a double Meloetta strategy, is that you are going to be down Genesects trying that.
Okay, so lots of choices can be made off of that Forest Seal stone. Will be interesting to see which route Brent has taken. Could remove the stadium, but then that would open up for Yari to be able to start drawing 2. So as you mentioned, if there is a way to keep the stadium in play whilst also doing everything needed to start getting those attacks off, that might be more optimal. So we'll see shortly what the plan is, as I'm sure Brent will try and take action this turn. And it looks like it will be a... is that discard of the Battle VIP pass, maybe?
I'm not sure. Has Yari dropped has he dropped his hand, Yari, or something? Because it looks like he's picking cards up from the floor. I don't know. I think he might have dropped the card, yeah. I'm not 100% sure how that Battle VIP pass has hit the discard pile. Maybe that was done last turn. I'm not 100% sure. Okay, so we do just see a loss. I imagine that was the out now. There's a couple good lines of play I'd like to see. Oh, we see a fusion energy on the back. This is very strong. Because Yari doesn't opt to play a Drapion or anything, so that Mew VMAX is going to hang around outside of some crazy, 3 or 4 power tablet turns being used, I should say. It's like they're just confirming something.
So I think that looks like it was a quick ball where he didn't choose to search through his deck, maybe, just to thin.
That must be what it was.
The Battle VIP pass. Yeah, on the text of the quick ball, it does say shuffle your deck afterwards. But if you don't ever search into it, some players like to just cut corners and ask if it's fine not to shuffle the deck. And while that was happening, Yari was picking cards off the floor, so we all just got a little bit confused by that. But just confirmation from the judge and Yari to make sure we all know what's going on there. How did that Battle VIP pass magically jump into the discard pile? All makes sense. But now that there's no path in play, those Genesects are active. And so we'll start seeing loads of cards coming out of that deck for Brent. If he can play lots, then we might see up to 12 cards from 2 Genesects here.
Definitely. We see a second Mew VMAX come down. What is this card here? I'm intrigued to see. We still need to see some sort of switch out. Here we see an Elisa also. We can get to 4 fusion energies in play. Interesting decision to opt to attach to the Meloetta. I wonder if we're going to see that get paid retreat. Normally when you're a fusion Mew, you really want to try and get to 4 fusion energies.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so just the confirmation that the Battle VIP pass was prized by a quick ball. Yeah, so we do see the Elisa onto the active, so we can just pay retreat. Obviously, there is 1 fusion energy in the prize cards there.
Interesting, though, that he attached both fusion onto that Mew VMAX manually. There is a fusion in the prizes, and so the Elisa was only ever going to be able to get it onto 1 Pokemon, as the other 2 were in the hand and attached manually. So as you mentioned, the potential to a manual switch here, but there is potential still to dig with that proxy Genesect V on the bench. So after some discard, that Ultra Ball getting rid of 2 power tablets.
Wow.
And that will mean the hand is very thin. And no need to find Pokemon now. Both Mew VMAX available. 2 Genesect on the bench. Meloetta's in play. No real need to find any more cards. Only will be for deck thinning, potentially. And at this stage, Brent is fully set up and ready to start taking knockouts.
Yeah, imagine Brent on the back of this Mew VKO is just going to try and go around the Jari's Mew VMAX. You're just going to try and go boss now to close this game out. He's the first one to take 2 prize cards. And Brent does play catchers, and we do see some bosses orders in the list, as well as the Serena. So there is options here. He would like to try. He would like to probably, I imagine, try and get into a DTE just so we can get it onto that next Mew VMAX. So even if Path comes down, Brent can just retreat between the 2 Mew VMAXs, not have to worry about finding resources necessarily. But there we go. Here we do see the paid retreat into the Mew V with the double fusion energy, and we're going to have to see a Techno Blast here for KO.
Yeah, so 1 fusion in the discard. There'll be 1 taking off the prizes most likely here. And as you mentioned, the typical strategy if you attack first in a Mew VMAX mirror is to go down that 2-2-2 prize line. Looking at the Genesects, they're going to be easy targets with those catchers or with Serenas or with the boss's orders. So taking 3 knockouts should be fairly possible now for Brent. There is potential for some path disruption. The Forest Seal Stone has been utilised by Brent, so there won't be as much of a way out of a path to the peak. But as you mentioned, if the double turbo energy is found, that's pretty much everything they need, plus a gust at this stage to guarantee that knockout. Yeah,
for sure. And once Brent gets into that DT, he'll be in a much stronger position. Although that does say, you know, Brent might want to go down the boss route, but that does leave yourself vulnerable to that big multi-power tablet turn, because, you know, Brent doesn't play an Oricorio, so that means you need, I think, 3 mods, I believe. No, 4 mods, I should say, to one-shot a Mew VMAX with a Techno Blast. And here we see 2, so we are getting there. You know, we only need
280 right now, isn't it?
Yeah, so we just need 1 more modifier. You need 4 mods in total to get to 310 with a Techno Blast. We see the Choice Belt. We see the Power Tablet. 1 more Power Tablet actually is a real big turn there for Yari.
Plus a path would be beautiful.
Oh, if there was a path as well, oh my goodness, I'd be jumping out my seat right now. That would be an amazing turn. Let's see what happens here. He's still got 1 Fusion Strike system to go.
There is 1 Power Tablet in the prizes, so less access to it. Needs to find 1. I mean, you know, there's only a few different ways to search in the deck for something like a Power Tablet. That'll be a Cramomatic, but for the most part, it's going to need to be found through natural draw, or a Forest Seal Stone could be utilised. That would be reaching quite a lot to get that knockout on the Mew VMAX, but as we mentioned, it is what's needed now to disrupt that 2-2-2 plan. Brent's going to be executing that Mew VMAX in the active.
Oh, here we go. Big Cramomatic. Here we go. Oh.
And it's a Tails, so that is going to thin the hand a bit, but there's Genesects have all been used, so nothing in the hand right now to potentially play, and so that's definitely limited the options here for Yari, as he is looking down at a Mew VMAX with 310 hit points, can only hit for 280 right now with 2 Power Tablets, and the Choice Belt does have that Forest Seal Stone access, so we'll be able to get 1 more modifier in here, but that is going to be using up a lot of resources on Yari's side, and if there was no path in that hand, or no Power Tablet in that hand, one of the 2 pieces he needs here, he's not going to be able to fully disrupt Brent into this next turn.
He still needs to find himself the VMAX here as well. I kind of forgot about that. I just assumed it was there. I think the Forest Seal Stone took the VMAX, so
there we go.
I'm guessing there's no tablet in hand. He probably would have played it already, and Yari sort of went all in.
3 pieces needed.
Yeah, 3 pieces needed, and it sort of went all in on that turn. And when you find yourself behind in this position, the Mew Mirror going second, you do have to try and go for the big 4 mods, or even 5 mods KO sometimes, and it's unfortunate it doesn't pay off. 1 piece of the puzzle short.
So that 1 Power Tablet is the only piece that was needed. The Forest Seal Stone was able to find whatever was left amongst the 3 pieces, but the path to the peak will disrupt Brent a little bit, but if no knockout comes out on that Mew VMAX, then we will see, as we do, 280 hit points taken by that attack, but that Mew VMAX will stick around and be able to start taking out some Genesects. No problem if it gets knocked out, as long as another energy gets put in play. Considering we've seen the Lost Cities both be used by Brent, there is only 1 Stadium Bounce out now.
And that is going to be via that Lost Vacuum. You're 100% correct.
Silene could come in.
And Silene as well, actually, he does play. But then you won't be able to draw the cards off the Silene unless he has the copy of Trekking Shoes in there. He does play 2 copies of Trekking Shoes. Love that. A little bit of extra dig. Love to see it. I'm guessing by the speed of what Brent is looking at his hand, I'm guessing this might be a slightly harder hand to work with here. I imagine if you had that out immediately. Oh, it does have the lost vacuum in hand. Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Oh, he has a lot going
and
on
I think
there.
he had the switch card as well. So
a
he should be
Cramomatic as well.
Cramomatic, yeah, he should be okay. The only problem is, though, once this lost vacuum goes, that next path, if it comes down, will be sticking.
Okay, so we see the quick ball being put into the lost zone in exchange for that path. So all path disruption outs are gone. Alyssa Sparkle, not relevant at this time. A Silene in hand, so the Silene now might be able to bring back some of those lost cities or the lost vacuum to be usable in the future. And we do see a catch ahead. So we're going to now see a 2-prize Pokemon brought up to the front and will be in range of a Technoblast if that Mew VMAX in the active is able to reset.
Of course, yeah. Okay, just to confirm as well that that sort of grass energy on the bench there is not just a grass energy, it is a judge-issued Genesect V proxy. Judges tend to do that if players' copies of cards are like warped or have gotten damaged during tournament play.
So essentially a marked card without the player really being at fault. It's
yes,
just where the card has unfortunately warped in a way, and so that judge-issued proxy is there. But this hand from Brent is delightful.
Oh, and they got their heads on the cram as well. I wonder what this search is. Does this find a DTE? Does this find... Probably just find a DT just so you can retreat.
Because you can retreat and then attack with the bench Mew VMAX. Doesn't need to find a switch out then. And all the switch outs, you've got things like Escape Rope, which you don't want to be using in this situation. You could, in theory, go into a retreat switch cart.
Yep.
But having that DTE down might be a better option because it will allow you to put that Mew VMAX with damage onto the bench away from an easy knockout next turn.
Yeah, for sure. And you would just rather try and get the easy retreat here, attack with this one with the choice belt. Then if anything goes crazy, you have this one on the bench, has the 2 fusions. You can Serena up the Genesect, not have to worry about mods at that point, and just close this game out. Because Brent does have a Serena in hand right now. So it's going to be down to Yari to try and stop this boss or, catcher, Serena, whatever you want to call it. That sort of double gust strategy.
And we mentioned about the going first in this matchup. In pretty much every mirror, going first is the better play, but the Fusion Mew went first in this game, so therefore it was the better start, but has the stronger going second game plan that can steal victories off with that Meloetta high roll in the first turn. So Brent very much in favour in this matchup, just thanks to that going first. But you mentioned beforehand that the double turbo energy build has some disruption ability with that path, which we've seen, which can often steal wins as well. So we're very much seeing Fusion Energy having the better flow of game, but the double turbo energy build having that ability to disrupt a lot better.
Yeah, and that's the sort of nature of the beast when it comes to Mew VMAX. If you want to be as most aggressive as possible, then you play the Fusion Energies Meloetta. If you want to be, still a very aggressive deck, but be a little bit have a little bit more hand control elements and disruption, then you go down the 4 DTE route. So over to Yari now. Has only got 2 Genesects now in play. And he's staring down. Now, all we see are rocks answer. That Serena is going to the bottom. Well, not going to, but it's getting shuffled in. Whatever card, we didn't quite manage to see what Brent took off the Silene, is now being shuffled away. So he will not be drawing that. And he only gets 2 cards here.
And so that Mew VMAX on the bench is got 30 hit points left, which will be in range of the Glistening Droplets attack from the Oricorio, and that would also leave the Technoblast used Mew VMAX in the active spot. So would force a switch out requirement from the Mew VMAX in the active spot, would take those 3 prizes, and would potentially be able to sprinkle some damage onto the active one through that Oricorio, but still, it would be out of range of any kind of knockout.
Yeah, that's actually a fantastic point, actually, making it really hard for Brent to be able to attack there, forcing a retreat into switch option. If you can combine this Roxanne with a path, just really lock down Brent. Yeah, that Glistening Drop, it's not an attack you hear or see all the time, but being able to put 5 damage counters on your opponent's Pokemon can come in handy when you just miss KOs like we saw Yari did. And I wonder if that's the route he'll go down.
Indeed, but that does also leave a fully powered up Mew VMAX in the active spot with the double turbo energy and the choice belt attached. So it would mean it could potentially survive a turn. As we've seen 3 power tablets used, one of them is in the prize cards, and it still would be well out of range of a single knockout. Typically, Mew VMAX only able to get 1 knockout onto a VMAX, otherwise it's a bit tricky. And the disruption here could steal back a turn, but ultimately...
We do see a path.
Oh, there is
Oh,
a path
wow.
there. So the Roxanne into path, definitely a strategy in this late game to get the comeback, but it's still a lot to ask for Yari here because Brent just has to get one more 2-prize Pokemon knockout, and we did mention about getting a path out back into the deck, but I don't think the Silene ever did it?
We couldn't quite see what it targeted. I would like to imagine it was the vacuum, but even if it was, it's been Roxanne's away now anyway, so Brent probably, well, there's a chance he has it in hand, but it's very low. And this path is going to be quite deadly, actually, if Yari decides to put it into play. And the Glistening Droplets play is actually really strong, forcing so many outs there from Brent.
Yeah, so the Silene on top of the discard pile did get played, I think, but I might have missed what it got back in. You reckon?
Oh, did he take it? Oh, I thought he left it on top. I could be wrong.
I don't know. We can't confirm that. Sorry, we might have missed that. I'm sure you had a better view of it than us. Maybe it was a double tails from the Silene. Who knows? But path will be going down. Even if there was outs in the deck, it's still very tricky to get them. 2 cards in hand for Brent. A path in play, and is calling out the Glistening Droplets. 3 onto the bench Mew VMAX, getting that knockout, and 2 onto the active Mew. So if there's no Silene in Yari's build, but if there was a way to get 2 hits in a row on this Mew in the active spot, then that would be deadly.
Well, for sure. I mean, this Mew has to start playing musical chairs to even attack next turn, and if this Mew VMAX just stays in the active or can't attack or, retreats into a 1-prizer, if Yari can then gust it back, get a hit in, always see a catcher. Here we go. So many coin flips this round. Oh, my goodness. Oh, that one's tails.
Yeah, because the chance to get 2 hits, because the Mew VMAX might just stay in play. And there's one of those outs that the Silene was able to get through the Lost City.
Yeah, I wonder if it took the Lost City then. Oh, my goodness, this is so forwards and backwards, this game. Oh, my goodness.
So now we see that potential for draw from Brent, and that means he's going to have access to any of the gusting effects, Serena or Boss's orders, to get one of the Genesect up into the active spot. We'll need to do a little bit of a dance with that active Mew VMAX that has used Technoblast last turn, and some deck thinning here with that Ultra Ball, maybe getting another Genesect down to help that draw potential.
Yeah, you have to imagine Genesect is the obvious choice here. Just going to help him turbo through. Just needs to find any combination of Gust plus a switching card. He does have some switch cards left, I believe. At least one does play an Escape Rope. That would also work in combination with a Gusting card as well. So Ultra Ball looks like he's failed. Probably hasn't got any Genesects left, actually. Maybe we've hit the discard pile or one. Or maybe there's one in hand. Oh, there's one in hand. Yeah. So just thinning cards out the hand, maximizing, getting cards out there so Fusion Strike system draws as much as possible. And here we go.
There we go. He's going to take those cards from that Genesect. I think that was for the max 6.
I believe so.
And that's just going to increase the odds as much as possible. There is that proxy Genesect V on the bench. The Escape Rope.
Oh, wait, hold on. He's decided. Oh.
The Escape Rope was put down there, so I think they're just working out. Maybe thanks to the discard pile check. Just going to be waiting for some confirmation here. But the Escape Rope being played first.
You have to retreat first before you play the Escape Rope, and it looks like that is the case. They're letting him sort of retreat first, then play the Escape Rope. That's
there we go.
Nice there.
So then the Mew VMAX is able to get back into the active spot. As we mentioned before, the Escape Rope needs to come first.
And there's the boss.
And there's the boss, and that's going to put a Genesect V into the active spot. Yep. And so will allow for a knockout. Yep. There we go. Fist bump going into game 2. Yari, unfortunately, not able to disrupt enough there. And Brent, with that relentless pressure from Fusion Strike build, will be taking game 1.
Yeah, for sure. That was an incredible game. We just saw the path to the peak not being as impactful, I assume, as Yari would like. Brent pretty much always been able to replace it as soon as possible, and even after the strong turn that is Roxanne path into a Genesect, into a Mew deck, Brent managing to get out of it and actually take that game 1.
Yeah, what a game. It's nice to see the Mew VMAX mirror but with different builds, because we've spoken about the 2 different builds, and in fact the double turbo energy disruption build has had a little bit more success, a bit more favorable maybe into the Lugia, as the disruption helps early on, and has been coming out on top into day 2. But we see how good that Fusion Strike Mew build can be in terms of getting energy down, getting attacks off, and also setting up for future turns.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be really interesting now seeing how this next game goes, because, law of averages, Brent shouldn't be able to just replace path instantly as often as he did. But if he keeps drawing hot and the crams, are on your side, then anything's possible.
Indeed. And we'll be seeing how game 2 goes as we get down to the table. And it will be Yari. We mentioned earlier, it's, as far as we know, his first ever regional, and he's sat here in top 4 across the table from Brent. Both of them playing that Mew VMAX deck, one with double turbo energy. There you see Yari and the Fusion energy on the other side. And at the moment, there's another semi-final going on. Magnus Pedersen versus Matthias. A little bit of a Palkia matchup there.
Yeah, and it's actually 1-1. I imagine that Magnus was in a bit of a hole there. That's quite a hard matchup. Vikavolt being able to really disrupt the Articuno and even hit the other Palkia for weakness. But it's currently 1-1, all to play for over there. Yeah, that's your boy.
Yeah, and the Raikou in there, making it tougher as well, because that can knock out the Palkia in one hit. So interesting match going on over there. But one of those Palkia will be in the final against a Mew VMAX. Speaking of Mew VMAX, 2 in the prizes there for Yari.
Yeah, that's... you have to imagine is not particularly great. The good news is for Yari is that at least at the bottom you have to imagine that Mew VMAX is a deck that can take prizes at a pretty fast rate. Should be able to take them out there, but yeah, not really a great start, you would say. And looking over at Brent's prizes, nothing really too impactful. You do see the Echoing Horn probably doesn't get used too much because the benches tend to be full. Meloetta, Tablet and a Cram, not too impactful.
And the only advantage potentially for those Mew VMAX, they are sitting right at the bottom of the prizes, and generally these players will take from the bottom, mostly just because it's quite far to reach to the top ones here on this massive feature table. But we do see the Battle VIP Pass, the optimal start for many decks in the format right now, but in particular for Mew to get that draw engine going, especially before those path disruptions start coming into play.
Yeah, you want to make sure you get all those Pokemon down nice and they draw as many cards as possible with your Genesect. You can try and establish Path Lock with a way to bounce it as well. Because we saw in Game 1, Yari not being able to immediately bounce his own path, and it kind of slowed him down, and maybe slowed him down enough to where Brent was able to snatch the victory there from him. So here you see Yari just probably price checking, working out, yep, that is 2 Mew VMAX prize. I have to be very careful with the one I've got.
And so we see the first deck check for Yari here. Tends to be a little bit longer for most players, a little bit of a grace period across the board to allow players to get as much of the information they need out of the deck. We'll be making a mental note of what's in the prize cards there. Some players opting to write it down on a notepad. We haven't seen many of them, but there has been a few. And that's something that I think comes with experience, how quickly you can get through that deck check. Whenever I go through, by the time I've worked it out and I've shuffled my deck, I've already forgotten the 6 prizes. But these players, the reason why they're here on these top tables and into the top 8 is because they're so good at repeating the habits of the game, including deck check, including the process throughout the game.
Exactly that. I am actually a notepad person myself.
You're a notepad man.
I take my time to make the notepad, write it all down, because like you, if I just try to just do it without a notepad, I'll probably just forget, unfortunately.
We're getting too old for this. I think all these young players coming through. That's why Alex is also a caster now, it seems. He's getting a bit old. And as we see the Genesects all coming into play, that's going to be 5 Fusion Pokemon in play.
We see an Energy and the Choice Belt as well.
Very thin hand. Good for that first Genesect. That's going to be for 4.
Drawing 4 cards, fantastic start. If Yari can just find himself now maybe a 5th Pokemon and a path plus a way to bounce it for himself, that's going to make life really hard for Brent. Now, if you can imagine that if this path sticks that Yari might have, Brent only has 1 Pokemon out and he's already got an energy attached. Yari could just finish the game there and then. And
that's what you mentioned about how scary this matchup is. If that first hand for Brent doesn't have any way of moving that path out of the way. You said there's 3 outs. It's hard to naturally draw into them, especially early on in the game when your deck is a lot thicker. You haven't had a chance to thin it out as much. So we could see it here. There's a Cramomatic. I should imagine this is to try and find a path, and it is a heads.
It's a 2. Let's see what he takes here. I wonder if he's already got... oh, he's taking it already. That was very fast. Whatever it was, he sort of knew.
He knew what he wanted. It was at the front.
And yeah, if he's already got a path replacement or a way to bounce path in hand, I think it was a path. He does have the vacuum in hand as well. Oh my goodness, Mike, this could be a very fast game too.
And the VMAX is a key card here as well. There's only 1 left in the deck because there are 2 in the prizes, and that will be needed in this next turn. But path down now, energy in play, choice belt in play, all the cards needed in play, and that hand does not look like it's got a way out of this path.
All Brent can really do here is just put some Pokemon down so he doesn't immediately lose next turn, but you are correct, there are no path outs in that hand at all, meaning Brent, all he can do is maybe bench another Genesect, bench a Mew, maybe bench 2 Mews, so he doesn't just immediately, get Serena or Boss and be out the game completely, but not looking good.
We mentioned about the strategy in this matchup and how the first person to attack, if they get a 2-prizer, they can then just go through that 2-prize, 2-prize, 2-prize route. And it was a lot harder to go through 2, 3 prizes the other way round. It required some disruption. But if Yari can go first on that knockout, get a 2-prizer, it's going to be very simple for him to just consistently get those knockouts to win the game.
Especially since he's, especially considering he's playing cross switches, still has, copy of Serena and Boss, but cross switches are equally allowing you to just maneuver, obviously resetting your own Technoblast stipulation as well, and allowing you to dissect your opponent's board. And I think Brent does take a Mew. I imagine he might play that Ultra Ball to take another Mew as well, just so he doesn't, get out of Mews, if you say, if it gets bossed. But this is not looking good for Brent so far.
Yeah, and this has also got a little bit to ask for Yari. He does need that VMAX.
True.
Which, as we mentioned, isn't going to be easy, but does have a way to get rid of the path and can start playing cards down, get those draws in and replace that path. And that's the beauty of this disruption build. It does play 3 paths, 3 lost vacuums. So even though you're putting paths in play, you are able to reset that disruption on yourself.
Okay, and this is going to be a big turn for Yari. Can he weave in a boss's order, Serena, or cross switches onto that Mew V and take out? Remember, he only has 1 VMAX available, so that might be... Oh, he has an Ultra Ball. Is that a boss as well? No, that's a lost vacuum.
And a Marnie there.
So he's got Ultra Ball. I imagine probably got what? Lost vacuum, the path, Ultra Ball for the VMAX, and then start Fusion Strike systeming, I imagine.
Oh, if he does that, he'll get 6 cards off of that Fusion Strike system too. So that'll be an outrageous turn here. And could even be at that sweet spot of, I'm just going to remove it from play. But looking to draw naturally here, perhaps didn't want to Ultra Ball one of those cards in hand, so wanted to draw into something different. So we could Ultra Ball something a little less relevant into the game. And you do see that there, a Mew plus, I think, a Quick Ball there will be discarded.
I guess you could argue for Yari here, just taking 2 prizes is good enough. Doesn't need to weave in the boss, because if you can re-establish Path a lot, taking out a Genesect, just leaving the Mew V in the active, you're still asking a lot from Brent. Even if he does have VMAX in hand, he can't copy any attacks. And
we saw the Ultra Ball plus, I think it was a Quick Ball maybe, or a Mew. And then it was that third card that we didn't know what it was. Perhaps that was a resource that you really wanted to hold on to. And that's why you might use the Fusion Strike system beforehand, so the Ultra Ball isn't having to be so aggressively removing of useful cards later on. But we do see the second Fusion Strike system coming through, a Forest Seal Stone. The Mew VMAX is in play. So everything now for Yari, just the boss potentially for the Mew.
We see a Path as well, so we can even re-establish Path Lock if he chooses to. Gets rid of a tablet and a Quick Ball here. Ultra Ball might grab, I was going to say another VMAX, but that's not an option. So this is probably just going to thin hand, so we can just draw more cards off this Fusion Strike system. Maybe draw into double cross switcher, and really seal this game up.
But both Mew VMAX players are smart enough to know that this Ultra Ball search, not finding a VMAX, will be making it very clear that there's 2 prized for Brent. We know that they're likely to be drawn off of this knockout anyway, but for Brent, he'll be playing to that as a potential out next turn, thinking, well, if there's no VMAX available as your secondary attacker, then there is a way, there might be a way that I can make this tough for you.
For sure, but I'm guessing Yari would probably, hopefully for himself, at least take one of those VMAXs on the back of this KO. So let's just see what happens there. Failed Ultra Ball. Here comes the last Genesect getting to draw 4. And he does have that Forest Seal Stone to fall back on as well. Maybe opting to use that to find a Forest a Path to the Peak replacement, I should say, next turn. Because you can use Forest Seal Stone on the Path to the Peak lock. Or maybe he uses it now to try and, fit one piece of the puzzle via cross switches or whatnot. I'm guessing since he's retreating now, he probably doesn't have the cross switches. Probably going to put the path down and take this KO.
So yeah, you see the Lost City as well. There is a bounce in hand for next turn. I think there was also a Lost Vacuum maybe in hand. So we'll be copying Technoblast, specifically that middle one.
Yeah.
And we'll be attacking the Genesect. Not only is attacking the Genesect great because it didn't require the boss, so he still maintains that Forest Seal Stone, but it takes away draw support. So the Mew VMAX is in play. There is potential now if you can get a Genesect down, which I think will be the next plan off of this Ultra Ball, does have access to the Technoblast. The modifiers will be tough to come by, but we'll be able to get an attack off this turn.
Yeah, and that's a sort of good thing about Mew VMAX in comparison to like a Mewtwo and Mew tag team from back in the days, that it doesn't actually need an ability to attack. It's the effect of the attack that allows you to attack. So even on the Path Lock, you can still copy Technoblast. We do have one mod, so that will be 210, but that is all you'll be doing. Next turn, you have to even start trying to play musical chairs again if Yari opts not to replace the stadium. And actually, he wouldn't even need to. He can just, because he took a VMAX out of prize, can evolve, retreat, swing again, and really put some pressure here on Brent.
And maybe that's what Brent's hoping for. He knows that there were VMAX prize, but the moment this VMAX comes down that he took from the prizes, that's going to be pretty clear to Brent that this is going to be a tough old match to win. There is a Genesect target to go down that 222 line, but we'll probably have to go through a 223. One power tablet has been discarded, so the limitations on that 4 damage modifiers, choice belt plus 3 power tablets is a bit tougher, but is still possible.
Is still possible, and I wonder if Yari will try and get some cross switches or even a boss's orders to try and get rid of that Genesect, because then Mew can't even attack at that point. Here we see the V-Star. This might give us a little clue as to what he's doing. He might just opt to grab Boss or Serena here, because again, if there's no bench Pokemon, Mew can't attack. He can't even use Max Miracle at this moment in time, because that is a 2 psychic energy cost. So let's see what Yari does here.
There is also the potential just to attack into the active Mew VMAX, knowing that by doing so, it would force him to have to bench down another V.
Yes.
So that would then open the 222 line, or you would just have damage on the active. And that Mew VMAX in the active did use Techno Blast, so would need to retreat, but it will be attacking the Genesect, and that will take away some draw support. As you mentioned, there is no Pokemon on the bench. Somehow that Genesect has fallen asleep, but we will be seeing the Mew VMAX knockout on it, which will remove draw engine and attacking options from the bench for this Mew VMAX, and I feel like there's not much way to come back here for Brent, and we'll be looking to go to game 3.
Yeah, this could be last chance saloon here. I don't know what that one card was, but was it like a staging replacement? It was a Meloetta retreating to Meloetta. Fair play to Brent. You know, this is Top Cut rules now. Games are longer. You can, try your very best to try and snatch victories back. This is looking very bad for Brent here. Yari just doing some calculations in his head. Doesn't have to play musical chairs, can just retreat and start attacking with this next one. That looks like what he's trying to do. No need to establish path lock at this get rid of path at this point when you can just cycle between these Mew Vs. They shouldn't V-Max, I should say, because they're definitely not going to get KO'd anytime soon. Yeah,
the board is so well established for Yari. 2 attacking Mews can just jump between the 2 of them. And now we do see that Mew VMAX in the active spot can make an attack, but nothing that can knock out either of the Mew VMAX at this stage. And even if you do knock out one, there's going to be a return KO from the other one. And you can just see here, going through that discard pile, there is only 1 damage modifier in there, the power tablet. So there is potential here for Yari to reach for a big knockout, but I'm sure he'd rather have the path in play and establish a slower knockout approach on the Mew VMAX.
I wonder what Brent's considering. Has he got Gust in that? Looks like he's eyeing up. Yeah, he is. So he's going to try and boss stall. Probably going to go into Genesect, goes for the one with a Forest Seal Stone. Guess in case, Yari plays Air Balloon or whatnot. But I know Yari does have a DTE in hand to pay this retreat cost. Oh, an Echoing Horn. Echoing Horn plus Gust would be nice here. Does he have it? Echoing Horn plus DTE retreat. There's a Serena. Just needs to switch now. He does have a DTE in hand, and that wraps that one up. Yari taking game 2, evening it up here in this top 4, baby. Going to a game 3 win or go home scenario.
And it will be Brent choosing to go first or second in this final game. Going first, a massive advantage in this Mew VMAX game, especially with the disruption inbuilt into Yari's deck. You can get that board established early, start getting through your deck, taking away cards you don't want, finding the perfect cards for you, and that is a great advantage now for Brent. But Yari working perfectly with that disruption, path to the peak there, showed exactly why a lot of people are favouring the double turbo energy.
Yeah, like you said, if you're going second as the fusion player and the 4 DTE slams that path down, you haven't had a chance to amass and hold on to any path outright. And you saw if your opening hand doesn't have a response, you just grind to a halt. And Brent was even able to weave in some attacks. And realistically, that was lucky because sometimes you're just sitting there doing nothing. So let's have a quick look at the bracket now. So let's have a look at what's going on. It looks like
came
Mateus.
Through.
Oh no, your boy.
I mean, to be fair, Magnus performed valiantly to get to the stage and to come up against a lightning deck, one that has that Raikou involved to take out the Palkia. The Articuno lock not as effective because there was lots of switch outs available. So Mateus able to come out on top there. But we will be seeing Palkia Vikavolt in the final. Wow. Mateus waiting to see which of the Mew VMAX builds he'll be facing off.
Yeah, super interesting. If you told me that Vikavolt was going to be in the final, I wouldn't have believed you.
And you would have probably thought it would be with Regieleki, but these Polish players now piloted to 2 top 8s. Alexander at Warsaw took the Palkia Vikavolt deck into that quarterfinal and unfortunately lost at that stage. And you can see here on the side of Brent, prizing 2 Genesects. That Grass Energy is a Genesect proxy, but we'll be going into Game 3 to decide which Mew VMAX will be going on to the final and to decide ultimately whether Fusion or Double Turbo Energy is the better deck here.
Yeah, it doesn't get much hype than this. Game 3, winner go home, top 4, winner going to the finals of a regional. And yeah, Brent actually prizing 2 Fusion Energy and 2 Genesects is kind of rough. But then back over to Yari, those Mew VMAXs do not want to get involved again, as they are both in the prize cards for him. And like we said, this time they're actually in the middle and to the top, so it might not be as easy for Yari to take. And that could prove a little bit troublesome.
Exactly. The outs to the Mew VMAX are pretty high in terms of you've got the Ultra Ball, you've got a lot of draw, but when there's only one of them in the deck, it really does limit your ability to do so. You do have the Forest Seal Stone to choose at any moment, only one of those in the deck because one is prized. An Ultra Ball in the deck, in the prizes too there. So it's not just about the Mew VMAXs there, it's all the outs as well to Mew VMAX that are being prized. Chromatic even is an out there too. But Mew VMAX shouldn't worry too much, and especially Yari's side, he doesn't have to worry about the disruption from the path to the peak, except for if he puts it down himself, where Brent will be more concerned about getting a strong first turn here to establish as good a board state as possible so that that path to the peak disruption doesn't come in and destroy his turn 2.
I'll be intrigued to see how Brent approaches his game, his turn 1 this game, because in game 1 he opted to go double Meloetta. Probably not going to be an option now that he's prized 2 Fusion Energy and actually ditches the third, so that means Brent's going to have to be relying on DT to attack now, which, you know, is okay, but it does mean you're going to be at -20, but sometimes you will need a mod now to start KOing a Genesect, which can prove troublesome, especially if you're under Pathlock.
And Oricorio there, so it could be a -40 with those two combined, which does make these Mew VMAXs out of range, and it would start meaning damage modifiers needed for the Vs, in fact, the Genesect and the Mew. And at this stage, 2 Genesect Vs, 2 Mew Vs down on the field. Plenty of draw potential here for Brent, and you want to be motoring through as much of the deck as possible while there's no path in play.
Worth noting now, you see an escape rope gone as well, and Brent doesn't play too many switches out, only 2 switch cards and 1 escape rope, so, you know, having one gone if you're starting to have to play musical chairs. Interesting though, I'm guessing with 3 Fusion Energies not available, that Meloetta is probably not going to get an attack in anytime soon. If it does, it will have to be with a DT and a Fusion. That's not very effective, so interesting that it chooses to be on the bench there.
Yeah, I guess the hope is they might come into play later on if they're off the prizes, but as you mentioned, discarding one early, you kind of assume that might be one prized. So discarding one early would limit that potential as well, but we do see here Trekking Shoes, an interesting include from Brent.
Yeah, not something you managed to see fit into the Fusion build much because space, right? Especially when you're playing Pokemon catchers as well, and you know it's hard to fit the Trekking Shoes. It's an amazing card from you though, right? You know, letting you look at the top card of your deck. If you don't like it, you can discard it, and if you like it, you can take it, and if you do discard it, you can just take the next one. It's a real good always include if you can fit it in, because you can just dig. Perfect when you're trying to find your VIP battle passes or Elisa's or, you know, anything like this. Power tablets even, really nice. But yeah, I would be quite concerned here for Brent, though, because he has got 2 Genesect prizes, and operating off 2 Genesects, let me tell you, Mark, the difference between 2 Genesects and 3 is massive.
Yeah, and that Meloetta filling up a bench spot, as you mentioned, probably not going to be attacking here. The Mews both down as well, but that is just due to those Genesects being prized. Not ideal to have to see 2 of those in the prizes. 2 Genesects, 2 Fusion Energy, not great. The 2 Mew VMAXs there, so not playing the optimal strategies on both sides just due to those prize cards. And we will be seeing what the start is here. A quick ball of the Lost City. Generally in this matchup, Yari is going to be using Path only. The Lost City is available for Brent as well, so if he wants to keep the Lost City in play, we'll likely leave it there. Quick prize check though for Yari.
Yeah, I wonder how he'll be like, wait a minute, guys, why are you in the prizes again, Mew VMAXs? We need you. But they are in the prize cards, unfortunately.
Looked a bit closer there. Is it in my hand? No, it's not in the deck either. Must be in those prizes. And as you mentioned last time, they were both at the bottom. A lot nicer prize card position. You draw them straight away when you take that knockout. But here they are in that sort of 3rd/5th area. And the Genesect will be coming out there. There is going to be draw potential here as long as some more fusion Pokemon start coming down and that hand starts to thin. And the potential for growth of the hand in the Mew matchup is so good. Both players can motor through 12 plus cards in a turn, and you see Double Turbo Energy down, can be protected later on if needed with a retreat. And there's going to be a Marnie there, so Marnie disruption.
Yeah, Marnie's super interesting in the Mew mirror because for the most part, Mew decks tend to operate in that sort of 4 to 6 hand range anyway when you're thinking about Fusion Strike system. I imagine Yari probably didn't have a way to fill the bench much more or get cards out of the hand, so the Marnie going to give him a fresh hand here, hopefully trying to fill the bench a bit more, and hopefully in our ideal world be able to establish Path Lock. That is not a great hand. I guess you can start attaching these belts and start drawing, but I guess in an ideal world for Yari, just wants to try and get a bit of path down and try and hopefully have an answer to get rid of it as well.
And that's both choice belts there as well. So you see, held on to the second one to try and put it onto a Mew. Doesn't want to place it down onto a Genesect to try and remove it from the hand. Only 2 in the deck. Vitally keeps at least 1 later. Might need it as a damage modifier as the Mew VMAX is only in range with 4 modifiers. So choice belt needed as part of that. And we see the Forest Seal Stone is going to be activated here early. V-Star flipped over, and we're going to be seeing the perfect card choice for Yari as he searches through the deck. And well, yeah, it's going to be a Battle VIP pass potentially, but he doesn't have to reveal it, but he's going to be playing it straight away. So he brings it out, and this will open up more draw potential.
Yeah, I think it's always going to have to be for a VIP battle pass there. Can't leave this Mew in the active with a choice belt and DT. Way too easy for Brent to care, especially since there's going to be no path out here. So we're always going to have to try and find a bench poke, but maybe now he can retreat into the Oracorio. Only give up 1 prize. 1 prize is fine because Brent's going to try and go down, the 2-2-2 prize route. So I wonder what he chooses to retreat into here.
Can place that choice belt down now, and there's going to be a chance for 1 more Genesect here. If a path to the peak is found through this draw, that would be ideal. Maybe a Cram-O-Matic as an out.
We did see a Cram.
Genesect, Power Tablet there. The retreat's going to happen, so I assume would have done everything else beforehand. No need to use it. Holding his hand upside down, I respect that.
Just trying to make it hard for us as well there. And opts to go for the Mew in the active. That's interesting. So Yari really valuing the Oracorio damage reduction with its lesson in zeal ability. Don't get to say that one too often. But here we see double Power Tablet. Brent licking his lips thinking, oh my god, I can actually Fusion Strike system. I don't have to worry about replacing statements or any of that business. And he's off to the races.
Yeah, so the path will have to come in later on as disruption, but the longer the game goes on without path, the better it is for the player going first. And Brent on this occasion did go first. Will have access to that Mew VMAX and be able to start attacking as soon as possible, and that's where the 2 prize route is key. Getting that first 2 prize knockout leaves 4, and then you'll be looking to get everything after that. And as we mentioned, those Fusion Energy in the prize cards, Genesect in the prize cards, so important prizes to be taken too here for Brent.
Yeah, 100%. Now, actually see the catchers in Brent's hand. It could prove really important. Now, we saw Mew play catchers more so in the Astral Radiance meta, but make no doubt about it, they're super effective, allowing you to, play a boss or Serena, or I haven't played boss and Serena, which is an item card, and that would maybe allow for Brent to get access to that bench Mew that has the DTE on it, just making Yari's life a little bit more harder, saying, can you find another DTE? Can you find a Mew VMAX? All that good stuff, and let's see what Brent chooses to do. I imagine you probably always play that catcher.
Yeah, well, he's ready to attack now and has enough damage to be able to get a knockout. As you mentioned, now it's going to be looking to try and get rid of that energy, ask as many questions of Yari. But for the most part, this is very much a Brent-favoured matchup now.
Ooh, opting to go for the Alisas here. Really interested. So that means if he wants to get access to that bench move, he's going to have to rely on that catcher. I would have maybe like to try and hedge your bets then. Oh, yeah, he's going to have to fail that Alisas because there's 2 in the discard, 2 in the prizes, I should say. So a bit unfortunate there from Brent, but let's see if he even opts to play this catcher. Oh, because the last one was in hand, yeah, so that's why he had to fail it. That's unfortunate.
Bit of a misplay there, because has had a chance to deck search and knew there was 1 in hand, so just played the Alyssa down, forgetting maybe that there was the 2 in the prizes, or just looking to get it clear out the deck. Perhaps didn't think he needed to play any other supporters, and by playing it, it removed it from his hand. And we'll be getting that knockout on the Mew as we see the draw here for Yari. What do we have to see here from Yari to be able to get back into this game?
Well, I think you never really want to hit into this Mew VMAX, I think. Unless you can, line up the mod, you probably just want to try and go down 2-2-2 yourself and hope that your Path and Roxanne or anything like this can stop Brent from doing it himself. I guess it's interesting from Brent that he chooses to hold the catcher, I guess, now because you want to go around the Yari's Mew VMAX. You end up playing this little dance in the Mew mirror where you're just trying to go around each other's Mew VMAXs. But I have to say, Yari's not in a bad spot here. does have the potential to path to the peak lock at any time. Here we see a Marnie opting for that fresh hand here of 5 cards for himself, while, you know, putting Brent's hand down, you know, because he just took 2 prize cards, going to be a big hand, and putting it all that down to the bottom.
Yeah, and you can hit into that Mew VMAX, because with Technoblast they have to wait a turn into the active. So sometimes you can put damage into it, force them to retreat, and if they haven't got another attacker ready, then they will just put it onto that bench and be ready to hit later on. And that's where that 3 pies strategy can be available. If you hit a Mew with 2 hits, knocking it out, then there's a potential to get all those damage modifiers for the final Mew VMAX. And ultimately, at this stage, the disruption route is required for Yari. That Marnie and Path needs to work out optimally here to be able to disrupt Brent fully, as he needs to get that turn back through disruption.
Exactly that. Now that that's a really good way of putting it. Actually, Yari needs to get a turn back, and he did actually draw into a path to the peak and a copy of Lost Vacuum, so he can establish that path to the peak lock while immediately bouncing it for himself, which is really nice. He has got the Mew VMAX already, with a DTE and a choice belt with a power tablet played, so can just swing into this Mew VMAX. Have still got some Fusion Strike systems to go. Let's see what we're
going to try and reach for the big knockout now. There is a power tablet, a Cramomatic in hand. Maybe playing the Cramomatic first just to guarantee, see whether that power tablet was needed to be played. But we will see him grab another card through the Genesis. Maybe didn't have a target for the Cramomatic.
You just need 1 more mod, I think, for the KO, right? 4 mods in total normally if there's no Oricorio in play. And he has got the Cram, so we can try and grab it. And that would be an amazing turn if you can go for it. Looking at his hand, did he have a... Oh, here it is. Here it is. It's going to be a big turn. Heads.
And it's going to be tails there. So no more search potential with the draw. I feel like that power tablet right now is sitting... Going to be that 280 damage similar to last turn, as we see the Lost Vacuum going onto the Forest Seal Stone, taking away an option to get out of the path of the peak that's about to be played down. Would rather disrupt the opponent than give himself an out in the future. And he's going to be looking to hit for 280. Similar story to that first game where he wasn't quite able to catch up. But this time hoping that that part of the peak, through the rule of numbers, through the rule of odds, will be working in his favour, and no outs are found by Brent. Yeah, the shake of the head.
Yeah, even though Yari couldn't get the big magic, 4 mod KO, he's in a fine spot. We can just clean up this Mew with a Glistening Droplets if it retreats. And like you said, law of averages, the path has to stick. He did play the Marnie, so resetting Brent's hand. So if Brent was trying to hold the path to the peak out, it's now at the bottom of the deck. And let's see what he does here.
You mentioned about if he can retreat here, but that's not as easy as it sounds, because you look on that bench, and that Mew there with the double turbo energy on is ready to attack, but both Mew VMAXs outside of the one in the active are in the prizes. So for Yari, it's not going to be as easy as just retreat and attack. There's a lot to think about right here, as I think... Wait, was it Technoblast that was used? Just looking at the numbers on it, I think it is 280 on there, because I was thinking maybe he went for the Max Miracle with the damage modifiers and thought that would be a better route. But we do see that retreat into the Mew VMAX on the bench. Will be able to attack back, and is going to just announce a Technoblast, I believe that was.
Yeah, well, you could go for the Murderous Echo, but it wouldn't be doing a whole lot of damage. So yeah, it would be... What is that?
That's 170 there. So Technoblast with the Oricorio and the double turbo energy down to 170, and that is a Marnie once again. So Path and Marnie, the disruption option here for Mew VMAX, piloted by Yari. A great combination, works amazingly well against abilities like the Mew VMAX, but can sometimes disrupt oneself. So Yari has to be careful, as he has to find a way to get that VMAX out of the active and reset it to be able to attack again.
Well, he has drawn into a Lost Vacuum, so that's one piece of the puzzle. He can at least start trying to draw cards with Fusion Strike system at the very least. But you are correct, because of that text on Technoblast, he does have to switch. Like you said, there is no Mew VMAX available for him to retreat and attack with, so he does need to draw into a switch. There's another Lost Vacuum. He does have a Cram. There's that tablet. Would have been nice a turn ago. Let's have a look. Tablet, Lost Vacuum, Cram. He does got another path to the peak, so he can opt to disrupt at that by that angle if this Cram is tails. So looks like he's eyeing up the Cram. I think you do have to hold the Lost Vacuum, I imagine. I don't think one copy of Power Tablet is going to be terribly helpful now. Yeah,
after that first turn missing the big knockout, Power Tablet kind of irrelevant at this stage, because all of the Vs are within range of the Mews, and all of the VMAXs are out of range of the Mews. So we are going to be thinking about maybe that hero medal might come weaved in here at some point. That reduces the VMAX by 100 hit points and down to only a 2 prize Pokemon. But that path will be re-established, and we need to find a way to reset the active Mew VMAX, and there's not many ways to do that.
He plays one copy of Switch card. I'm not 100% sure if it hit the discard pile already. Oh, interesting decision there. Opting to quick ball away the path to the peak. Maybe Yari's foregoing that path to the peak strategy now because he knows he needs to try and find a Switch card. Is it in deck? Was it that middle card?
I think
next to the DTE. I can't 100%. Need to slow it down a little bit. I think that was a VIP battle pass.
There might have been a cross switcher in there as well. Cross switcher, another way to move out of this situation. Would also allow to gust up the VMAX that's on the bench. That's a little bit more damaged, but it would reset the active Mew. But then equally, there's 2 Mew VMAXs in play, so you can just keep jumping between the 2 of them. And this is where that prize Mew VMAX, the double prize Mew VMAX, once again disrupting the typical game plan of Yari.
I think he drew switch card there. I think that last card was a switch card, so we might be able to see switch card into glistening droplets to take 3 prize cards. Never a bad thing.
Maybe cross switches into Psychic Leap could be a strategy too.
It could be. That'd actually be fantastic, actually. But then you only have 1 Mew V in play, though, which would leave Brent an easy gust. And we just see, there are cheats. I'm guessing the switch cards coming now as well. There, that is. And I'm guessing we are going to see glistening droplets here, but it kind of leaves you a little bit vulnerable. Like this Mew VMAX active could get KO'd, but it does mean Brent has to then find another switch, and especially with a re-established path lock, it's going to be hard for Brent to respond, because very similar to the game 1 actually, right, where you're KO in the bench Mew V, leaving one inactive that has Techno Blasted. And there it is.
Which 3 prizes. He takes the Mew VMAX in the 3 prizes. That was so key here. Ooh. If he didn't take that Mew VMAX, then there wouldn't be a way to attack in the future after this Mew VMAX gets knocked out. So a vital prize card taken there by Yari. I didn't know which of those middle 2 he was going to take when he slid them away. But the Mew VMAX has been acquired. And that means that afterwards, there could be a chance for a disrupted active Mew VMAX that cannot move out with a Techno Blast. That disruption route is still available.
Oh, there is a lost vacuum in Brent's hand there, though, so we'll be able to at least try and draw some cards. But you are correct. Yeah, this is interesting. Brent does need to, like you said, play a bit of musical chairs with this Mew to even get it attacking, because it is Techno Blast lock, like you said. And Yari's Mew VMAX has taken some damage, so it is kind of vulnerable itself. This is an incredible game 3, everybody.
They have to steal that turn back, as we mentioned, whether it be through a Techno Blast, or there's a switch cart in hand there, so it will be able to retreat out the active spot and move back with that switch cart. So can get an attack off here, but that would just take 3 prizes, which would leave 1 prize left, so it's not a guaranteed win then. And then that's where you start thinking about the next Techno Blast that needs to be switched out of. So over and over and over again, Yari here is trying to steal back that turn by keeping a Mew in the active spot with the Techno Blast. Bit of text. We all love to see this kind of text on these powerful moves. During your next turn, this Pokemon can't attack. It's been such a great end game situation across Pokemon for years and years and years. Seeing a Pokemon just left in the active and people shouting pass across the table, see if they can move it, and that could be the case here with an attack announced by Mew VMAX while that Mew VMAX is stuck in the active.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting here for Brent, because I assume he probably can take this KO and then puts the pressure straight back onto Yari. At least Yari does have a Mew with a DTE attached, so, and a VMAX in hand, so he will be able to at least start swinging, but damage into a Mew VMAX, it might not be as advantageous as you'd like.
So Yari has played 3 Marnies now. The disruption route with the path, a big factor in this deck. There is still that Roxanne. That is the key here on this next turn for Yari. If he can get a Roxanne, I don't think he can get a path out because all the paths have been played. But even then, a Roxanne could disrupt it enough. It's so tough to disrupt with a Roxanne without the path.
Yeah, because the good thing about Genesect is if you don't combine it with a path on the Roxanne, like, okay, I'm on 2 cards now, great, let me just draw straight back up to 6 instantly. Because like we said, we did see 1 path get played, 1 got quick balled away, and the 3rd one did get lost vacuum there by Brent. So path to the peak is no longer a factor in this game. You'd have to imagine that would favour Brent more so than Yari.
And so Yari is just waiting now to see what comes out from Brent. I don't think he's shown that switch. Oh, he has shown the switch card, so he has reactivated the Mew VMAX. So at this stage, Yari knows that it's very much in favour of Brent, especially knowing the paths aren't available for him. we sit here and we can tell that there's a path in the discard. 2 have been removed from play whilst they were disrupting. So Brent is in control here, and we mentioned how key it was to go first in this matchup, but everything Yari has tried to do to slow down the play, disrupt a turn, has just not quite worked out.
That path hasn't been sticking. And just to remind everyone at home, the winner of this Game 3 will be joining Matusk in the finals, playing against a Palkia, Vikavolt, Raikou deck that we haven't really seen too much, but it's going to be there in the final.
Oh, it's truly beautiful. The draw engine in that of Speed, Lightning Energy, concealed cards, the Celebrations Mew to find items. A great deck to watch later on, so do stick around for that final after this match. But we'll be seeing who joins them here, whether it's Yari with the double Turbo Energy Disruption Mew, or whether it's Brent with that aggressive Fusion Strike Mew. At this stage, it looks to be Brent in the strong position. Silene as well to start bringing back
double
options.
Heads.
Oh, these coin flips have been going very much on Brent's side. Lots of Chromatics failing for Yari. In fact, that key turn needed that power tablet through the Chromatic, but we see Silenes and Chromatics going in favour of Brent as he puts a VMAX and a Lost Vacuum in.
Yeah, that was a Lost Vacuum. I guess Brent doesn't know Yari's path count. It's not too unfamiliar for these path decks to play 4. So just making sure, I'm just going to make sure, just in case another path comes down, I'm going to be able to draw some cards and get straight back in this game. And like you said, Yari, watching Yari's reaction when Brent rolled heads on that cram, Yari looking up, I believe, to his left, thinking, why couldn't I get any heads, guys? Come on now.
Yeah, it is tough. A lot of coin flips in this matchup, and generally across the board, the coin flips will win you games, but they don't tend to lose you games. You're not that reliant on them, but they are a great way to reset resources for the Silene. They're a great way to thin your hand out and remove things like your Battle VIP pass when you're using the Chromatic. But every time you do get that heads, it's such a powerful effect. Putting stuff back from the discard pile historically has been so effective in Pokemon. And then equally that Chromatic, the search for any card in your deck effect is so good too. And so we wait here and we see that power tablet modifier has been played down. And they're just discussing here how much damage it might be. And, we've got plenty of time left here in the semi-final. There is 11 minutes still and very much a conclusion coming soon. So neither player needs to worry too much about time. So they can take that little bit extra time to calculate things. And it will be getting the knockout there on the Mew VMAX. I think the reason why he had to calculate that is probably because he wanted to go for something like a Max Miracle with the power tablet just to guarantee the knockout there. And we'll be going into Yari's turn here. Not only is that Mew VMAX in the active spot without the negative effect of Technoblast, but it's well out of range of a knockout with all the power tablets out of play. No Silene in Yari's deck.
Yep.
This is a rough situation.
No, it is. And let's see. Looks like we're going to start the turn off here for Yari. Maybe with a Cram. He just evolves as active. Here we go. Can Yari get himself ahead? Hasn't had many of them. He does. Okay, so does this search for a Roxanne? Does this search for a Gust, maybe? Just to try and go down to 1 prize. Let's see what this search is for here. I have to say, I think Yari might be on the potentially the back foot here. His downloads of power tablets, but sometimes you just need 1 coin flip heads to get straight back in the game.
Yeah, maybe getting a Genesect into the active spot might waste a few turns. I mean, you've got to play to your outs at this point, especially as we said, there's plenty of time here for Yari. Been exceptional here in Stuttgart. His first regional, making it to top 4 from the Netherlands against Brent, both piloting the Mew VMAX deck the whole way through. One of the most popular decks outside of Lugia V-Star here in Stuttgart, and have been mighty effective. So a cross switcher is going to be used. The instant retreat from that Mew V. Genesect might be suspended here in the active spot. We'll see what the strategy here for Yari is. Maybe he'll just go down the long route of Oricorio sprinkling damage onto the Meloetta.
I imagine Rory would probably look to KO this, maybe try and weave it in with a Roxanne and just hope that Brent hasn't got Gust for game at this point, because Oricorio is very vulnerable. But then Yari does put himself down to 1 prize card here. 1 prize card each, maybe, if Yari opts to go for the KO here. 1 prize card left. Whoever takes the next one will be in the finals of this Stuttgart regional here. This win or go home scenario. This is very, very close. Either player capable of winning.
You said just Gust for game here. And a Gust for game on what is a 1 prize Pokemon. So it's guaranteed at that point pretty much. And the disruption won't be as effective because there's no pass available for Yari. All the paths up to this point have not been able to stick. And for Brent, some of his outs for Gus, he's got so many.
Exactly, yeah. He's still got a copy of Boss's Orders. But there's the Roxanne, though. So Brent's hand is going to get reset down to 2. Yari does get a handful of 6. Yari doing everything he can. If only he didn't discard that one copy of Path with the Quick Ball, we might have been able to combine this with the Path to the Peak and really, really make it tight here for Brent. But as it stands now, we already alluded to, Brent will just be able to immediately refill his hand with a Fusion Strike system.
And he's been thinning out throughout the whole game here, trying to get rid of as many of the cards that aren't as effective. Both players have been. You saw that hero medal going down onto the Genesect where it has no effect. So just trying to get rid of all the cards that they don't want to see off this Roxanne. And we mentioned this Genesect knockout, both of them are going to be sitting on 1 prize card, and it is asking for as much as possible out of the opponent. 1 prize card remaining for both players. Does Brent have it to make it to the final?
Here we go. Can Brent find that Guston? Oh, okay.
Straight away, the Boss's Orders comes down. The Mew VMAX mirror is decided. No Genesects required to find that boss. It was just in the hand after the Roxanne. And Brent will be your Stuttgart finalist, joining Matthias with that Vikavolt Palkia.
Yeah, what a game there. Wasn't even able to build up the suspense. I thought Brent might have to at least try and draw some cards, you know, style out a little bit. Unfortunately, Roxanne was a lie in that scenario and gave Brent the gust he needed for game. And he is now in the final of this Stuttgart Regional.
Just imagine if that was a Roxanne path and that boss came down that way. That would have been... That would have been sad. But on this occasion, we did know there was a plethora of options for Brent with the draw potential, with the Genesect. So our winner of the semi-final here, the best Mew VMAX in the tournament to come out on top is Brent, but valiant effort there on the other side. First regional.
Yeah, I know. I hope Yari, you know, take nothing away from Yari. His very first regional championships, and he was only 1 turn away from finding himself in the final, being able to compete for that 5k prize. And you have to imagine for him, he must be on top of the world, or at least I hope so.
Yeah, it's always tough to go into a semi-final, come out by 1 prize and be happy. But again, as you mentioned, it can be like that sometimes where, you know, your first experience, you just got to be happy with every win after you make top 8. You know, once you do well in the Swiss, the highest performer in the Swiss going into this top 8, very happy with that there.
And it looks like we're going to play 2.
There we go. That's Brent there. Our boy Brent. He's made it all the way to that final. You know, the swagger from these players. I mean, I say swagger. I think you had the most swaggy in front of the green screen there.
Wouldn't go that far, definitely not. But he finds himself in the final with that power pose there with his Fusion Strike Mew deck in the final. But make no mistake about it, Vikavolt is going to be really interesting. I'm not 100% sure how this matchup plays, but
I don't think anyone is.
No, but Item Lock is the great equalizer, right? We see how important items are to me. You know, Ultra Balls to thin the hand, Quick Balls, switching cards even. They might all get locked off before Brent has a chance to even, you know, start attacking. So it's going to be a really interesting final.
It will be, and I honestly have no idea which way it's going to go because we have very little experience with this matchup. You know, Palkia, Vikavolt against the Mew VMAX. Obviously, both decks have had success throughout today, but the Palkia Vikavolt will be way more familiar with that Mew VMAX matchup than the other way round, and that's the advantage you have when you play these slightly less common decks, is that you have the advantage when you play it because you're familiar with all the different scenarios. We will be having a look and see how today has unfolded since the Swiss in the top 8 here, and we'll see just there Brent at the top right into that final against Matthias with the Palkia Vikavolt. There was a Palkia mirror of sorts between Matthias and Magnus, very different builds, both looking to disrupt outside of that Palkia line. But we saw some other different decks in the quarterfinals too. Yeah,
so we saw another Fusion Mew there with Jamie, I should say. Liliana with the Lugia, which Brent dispatched there to Sander with the really cool, real new take on the Mewtwo V Union there, combining with all things a Gardevoir line. And then we had Magnus there at the bottom with the Articuno as well. So a whole ton of plethora of decks.
You like that word? I said that one a moment ago.
Did you? I like that one as well. Okay, a whole bevy of different decks here in the top 8. And we find ourselves now with the Vikavolt against the Mew VMAX Fusion deck in the final.
We have had a right variety of decks here. We saw Zoroark box just bubbling out in ninth place with Benji. So there has been a lot of variety here, most of which have been moulded to try and go against the amazing Lugia V-Star. I shouldn't call it amazing. The amazing is the other cards in it, like Yveltal. But you do see that Lugia V-Star do so well at LAIC and throughout this weekend, both Brisbane and here. It's been targeted and not done as well at those. We'll see how it does in Toronto later this evening. But ultimately, Mew VMAX has been the victor of today's bracket and will be making its way to that final to see if it can take on the Spice.
Yeah, and I'm not 100% sure how this matchup will go, but I am very, very excited to see it. And I believe we'll be getting a winner's interview coming up soon.
Hello, welcome back. I am here on the couch with Brent. First of all, how are you feeling? You're in the final.
I'm feeling pretty great about that, yeah.
I can imagine, that Mew mirror there, the big thing you're worried about is the disruption on the other side.
Yeah, of course.
And every single time you seem to find your way out of it. How did you feel every time you got disrupted and saw the path down?
That was obviously very tough, but I tried to thin my deck as best as possible to get as much good cards keeping in my deck, so to get out of it, and I got out of it most of the time. So.
Yeah, it's all those little small things that have helped you get to this stage throughout the day.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of which, how was your Swiss bracket? Did you come up against a lot of Lugia?
Definitely a lot of Lugia. I think about 6 or 7 right now in all my matches, and I won against all of them, so that was pretty good.
Why do you think your deck worked well against the Lugia V-Star?
I think because Lugia can brick at times. Mew obviously can too, but a bit less. And Mew can also take a KO if it goes second. And if Lugia goes first and can't play a supporter, they only get one Lugia V down. It's really downhill from there if you get a KO on that one.
Yeah, I think a lot of people underestimate the Lugia early turns and how easy they are.
Yeah.
So the Meloetta coming in clutch for you, getting those early knockouts.
Yeah, exactly.
How has it been here at Stuttgart for you, the whole event? How's the venue been? How's the experience been?
It's been very fun. There are a lot of Belgian players here. I think there were 44 Belgians, and that's a lot from a small country like Belgium.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had a lot of friends around me. That was fun.
Yeah, I can imagine. I'm sure they're all waiting around the corner to celebrate your victory there, which you're going to be going into the final. You know what you're up against in the final, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I played against him in Swiss, day 2. Game 1, I didn't know what he was playing, and that got to me because I didn't prepare for what he was playing.
I don't think anyone did.
Yeah, of course. And then game 2, I just bricked, so yeah, that was a 2-0 victory for him. But now I know what I'm playing up against. So.
Yeah, well, you don't want to reveal it too much, but do you have a little game plan in place that you think you're going to use against it?
Not particularly, just try to play my items down as fast as possible, as best as possible.
Okay, well, I mean, that's the scary thing with that paralysing vault and the Vika vault. I guess you said there's a lot of Belgian players here, a lot of friends around.
Yeah.
Was there any particular group of people that you used for testing in the lead up to this event that you want to thank or anything?
I tested a bit with Gunther van Rooij and Gilles Hendricks. Those are the two main ones I've tested with, but I can speak to all Belgian players, and they welcome me with open arms for any questions or discussions about Pokemon.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing we have here in Europe. There's so many of these little micro communities within the different nationalities. You all look out for each other, support each other, you know, assuming things like cards, you share cards to help each other out and so on. And then you get to celebrate with them after your big wins like today.
Yeah, of course. I have a funny story about that actually. I ordered some Lugias together with my friend Gunther. But we both didn't get a full playset of it, so I borrowed the ones I had to him so he could play it, and I had to play something else. So my two main choices were Lugia and Mew, but I'm very glad I picked Mew. Well, I had to pick Mew.
Yeah, there's been a few people speaking about that. The Lugia playsets are so hard to come by, and so in your case you had to sort of, okay, I'll be the nice guy, I'll play Mew, and now look at you here going into that final with Mew VMAX. I'm sure you're thankful of it now.
Yeah, of course.
And do you think the Lugia being such a big deck in the last event and struggling here is typical of that early meta and how it forms and people start to target the big deck?
Yeah, I think because it was there were a lot of Lugia in the last format, the last event I mean, so of course people are going to want to counter that, but also a lot of people are still just going to want to play Lugia itself, so that's why you also still see a lot of Lugia, because I saw a lot of Lugia in my Swiss rounds, of course.
Yeah, and a lot of people copying those decks. But Brent, I'm going to not hold you back too much longer. Let you go meet your community and your friends and celebrate a little bit and get you prepared for that final. And we'll see you on the feature table shortly. And hopefully, for your sake, I can talk to you afterwards when you've got that winning moment. So good luck in the final.
Thank you.
And we'll see you soon.
Yeah.